Hello, hello, hello. I hope that you are having a wonderful day, and I'm honored to be even just a part of your day. I did a part one of this episode a long time ago that I will link for you in the show notes that shares 10 different selling on story ideas. So if you really like this episode, definitely go check that out. Again, it's 10 different ideas. I'll link that in the show notes, but I also have an offer. It's called Plug and Get Paid that I'll link below as well, where you can get 100 plug and play prompts. So it's not just ideas like I'm going to be giving you in this episode, but it's fill in the blank prompts to help you to sell on stories. And you're also going to get 150 Canvas story selling templates to help you sell in less than 5 minutes a day. So basically what I'm saying is I'm handing you all the resources to be consistent as all get out when it comes to selling on stories so you can make so much money in 2025. Again, that's when you join Plug and Get Paid, so check that out in the show notes. All right, let's dive into these 10 ideas for selling on your Instagram stories so that you can sell with ease, because that's what we're all about here. Number one is share what your ideal client avatar has tried in the past that hasn't worked. Now, the first thing that most people do here is dive straight into the obvious, and they're like, oh, well, I know that my ideal client avatar has downloaded all the freebies on XYZ topic, and they're like, okay, that's what I'm going to post about on stories. And while that's probably true, they probably have downloaded all the freebies on whatever topic you are posting about, whatever topic your offer is on. It's too vague to resonate. So I really want you to dig deeper. I want you to think about the exact question that they have Googled, and then also the exact scenario that left them Googling that question. So why are they Googling it? What have they been through? What have they experienced? What were they feeling? Why did they actually want to Google whatever it is that they're Googling? I also want you to think about what their friends or their spouse or their family members have suggested that that person try in order to solve whatever their problem is. So what recommendations are they getting from these outside sources? I also want you to think about what reels or TikToks or YouTube videos or emails that they're reading and seeing and consuming, and what those pieces of content are saying that is leading them down either the wrong path or just a path of confusion and overwhelm. And you want to get specific here. You want to say not just like, oh, I know you're consuming reels on XYZ topic. No, you want to dive even deeper there, and you want to say, I know that you're seeing reels that talk about this exact thing, and you're going to even pull out an exact hook that they probably have seen on a reel before, or maybe even a question that a piece of content that was on a reel, or maybe it was on a YouTube video that they were drawn in by. You want to talk about that question and bring that exact language into your story content. Now, once you've nailed the scenario and you've gotten really specific, I want you to get specific on why what it is that they have tried hasn't worked, or what has been recommended to them hasn't worked, or what they've seen on reels or YouTube videos or whatever it is. Why has that not worked? Basically having an I love you but moment with them. Like, I love you, but your mom isn't qualified to give you advice on why your weight loss isn't happening, even though you're working out daily. But me being a hormone expert, I am qualified to be able to do that, right? So it's almost like that tough love moment, but it's the call out that they need to be like, it's that wake up call where they're like going to be watching that, or they're going to be seeing that, watching it if you're speaking on stories, or seeing it, reading it if you just have text on stories. Either way is great. They're going to be seeing that, and they're going to be like, oh crap, like that is me, right? I have been taking advice from my mom, who is not qualified on weight loss, or qualified on hormones, or qualified whatever the topic is that you're talking about. Now, you're going to post that, and it's going to do so well because, again, you're diving deep into exactly what it is they're doing that is not working and why it's not working, and then you're presenting your offer as the solution to their problems, and you're going to explain why your offer is different than what they've tried in the past, and the advice that they're getting, and the recommendations, and all of that. Now, the theme that you're going to catch here with all of these ideas that I gave you, all 10 of these ideas, is that specificity wins every single time. The more specific that you can get, the more that your sales content is going to resonate. I hear all the time people will come back to me and they're like, well, I have been using your prompts and I've been using your tips and ideas for posting on Instagram stories and there's no sales that are coming in. I've been consistent at it, and I will say, hey, send me over a few pieces of your content. Like, I would love to look at it and give you feedback on, why it's not converting. 9.5 out of 10 times, so a lot of the time, 95% of the time, it's because they are filling in the blanks and they're running through all the right motions, right? They are talking about what their ideal client avatar has tried in the past, but it's that very surface level, very vague of like, oh, you've downloaded all the freebies on how to lose weight, for example. I don't know why that's the example that's coming up for me right now, but we're going to run with it. How to lose weight. And they're like, okay, yeah, but there's a bunch of other people who are selling in the exact same way, selling their offer, so you're not going to stand out there, right? So it's the specificity that's going to make you stand out and make your sales content really resonate. So if you are listening to this right now and you're like, I've done that before, but it hasn't worked, or I've been selling on my Instagram stories now for a really long time and I'm not getting any sales, really look at your content and be really, really honest with yourself. And if you need another set of eyes, go out and find another set of eyes to look at your content and give you honest feedback there. But be honest with yourself, or find someone who can be honest with you. Are you being specific enough? Are you talking to one person? Do you know that person really, really well on a deep level that's going to allow you to have your messaging really resonate with them? Think about that there. Okay. Number 2 idea here for you to sell on your Instagram stories. What is a thought that your ideal client has had but wouldn't ever admit to having? Now, this is different than idea number 1, where you just discuss what they've tried, because this is more about their behavior, while it's more about, number 1 was more about their behaviors, like what are the actions that they're taking, and this is more of just what is stuck in their head that they haven't shared with anyone, or if they have shared it with someone, it's only someone who's in their closest circle, because it's something that's super vulnerable and maybe even something that they might be judged for. And you're going to start off this story set when you're selling on your Instagram stories by saying something like, I know that thought that you've been thinking for X amount of time now that you haven't told anyone. And you're just going to leave it at that, right? And they're going to be like, oh, I wonder what he or she thinks that I'm thinking, right? And then on the next slide, then you're going to share what that thought is. And you're going to just leave it at that. And you're just going to say, phrase it in the exact way that they are thinking about it, right? That deep thought that they haven't told anyone, or they've only told their BFF because they're scared about what other people are going to think, or, if they're going to be judged, or, that maybe they shouldn't even be thinking about the thing that they're thinking about, right? It's going to make them feel so seen and heard. They're going to be like, wait, is Maya a mind reader? So first slide, I know the thought that you've been thinking for X amount of time now that you haven't told anyone. Then you're going to share the thought, and then you're going to talk about it, right? You're going to talk about why this thought is coming up for them, why you can help them with this thought. And you don't have to cover all these things, right? These are just ideas of how you could talk about it. And then you're going to lead them into why your offer or your service is designed to help them with that thing that they want to overcome, right? That deep desire that's literally been just buried down in their brain. Number 3 idea for you to sell on stories, you're going to share a short tutorial. You're going to share a short tutorial or a walkthrough, and then you're going to share that you go more in depth or share additional tutorials like the one that you just shared on your stories inside of your paid offer. Basically, you are educating as a way to showcase what it's like to be inside your offer. So if you run a group program and inside you do a health audit of your students, you could do a health audit on your Instagram stories of someone maybe in your community, or maybe it was someone who was in your paid program. And then you're going to say, hey, if you liked this health audit and you want a health audit, this is something that I offer inside of my program. And then you're going to lead into your program. Or if you don't want to do something to that length of effort, totally get that. You could even just pull out a small snippet of something that is inside of your paid offer. So if you have, let's just say 15 trainings inside of your paid offer, maybe you pull out a section of one of those trainings, or maybe you pull out just one of those trainings and you share it for free. on your Instagram stories just for the 24 hours. Once it expires, it's gone. You're not going to share a link to it or anything. You're just going to share it inside of the actual story itself, or you could have it like as a direct message automation where they can only, get access to that automation for the 24 hours that the story is up. That's fine too. And then guess what? You're going to lead into your offer, right? You're going to say, hey, if you loved this snippet of this training, this is actually a small part of a larger training that you're going to get access to inside of XYZ offer alongside all these other trainings that you're going to get access to. Or if it wasn't a snippet, you could even say, hey, this is an exact training that I just pulled out of this offer, gave this to you for free. You're going to find a bunch of other trainings on these other topics inside of this offer. Now, this is not you promoting a freebie and then having that freebie through a funnel lead into an offer. That's a whole different strategy, and that's great to do as well. But this is very strategic in terms of educating, where it's either exact content from your paid offer or it's something that is very similar, if not exactly what you do in your paid offer. Maybe instead of doing an audit, the health audit that I gave as an example, maybe you do Q&As inside of your paid offer. Maybe you host then a live Q&A on, I don't know, like your Instagram live stories or for something like that. And then you post that to your Instagram stories and say, hey, watch this live Q&A. This is exactly what it's like to be on my bi-weekly or my monthly live Q&As inside of XYZ offer. And then you could even delete that live training if you wanted to after the 24 hours expired on your stories, or you could keep that up or whatever it is, right? But it's giving people an idea of what it's like to be inside of your offer by giving them either something that's actually inside of your offer or something very similar to what it would be like to be inside of your offer. Now, idea number 4, I really, really, really love this one. And it's not going to make sense to do this all the time. You're going to have to kind of play it by ear, and you'll get what I mean here when I talk about what it is in just a second. But it's one of those things where if there's a scenario that pops up in your life or an experience or some sort of, challenge or trial, and it makes sense for you to talk about it, this is a really great time to play into that. So what is the idea for number 4? What is something that has happened in your day-to-day life recently that could be related to your offer? Now, let me give you an example of this because that's obviously very broad. I have a family chat with my in-laws, So all of my in-laws and then my husband's brothers and sister, and then also in-laws. Anyways, it's a family chat. That's all I needed to say. Gave you way too much context there that not needed. But one of my brother-in-laws sent a picture into the chat, and it was a picture of some golf clubs I think that he had picked up at Goodwill or like DI or something. They were like secondhand, and they were nice golf clubs. And I think in the text, he said something along the lines of, this is going to help me with golfing so much or something. And my other brother-in-law, who's like really into golf, he sent back a text in the family chat. He said, using nicer clubs won't fix your swing without practice. And I, as a business owner, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a perfect analogy for so many different things, right? And so that would be a really great scenario where I could take that text message, literally screenshot that, and I actually have it screenshotted in my photos, and I need to post it on Instagram stories and talk about this. But I am going to screenshot that, post it on Instagram stories, and I'm going to talk about how that relates to my business. And the cool thing is here too, that exact like phrasing of using nicer clubs won't fix your swing without practice, that could be related to literally any niche, any situation. I don't care what it is that you're selling. I could figure out a way to relate that phrase, using nicer clubs won't fix your swing without practice, to anything. And so for me, I could talk about it on the Instagram growth side of things. I could talk about it on the business side of things. I could say buying a nicer camera to film your reels is not going to fix your Instagram growth problem without a content strategy. That would be a great way for me to tie that in. Or on the business side of things, I could talk about how having more offers is not going to help you to scale your business if you don't have an offer suite strategy, right? And so I could tie it in on that side. And again, I could come up with 100 different ideas for 100 different niches on how that could tie in, but that was just a random scenario that popped up in my day-to-day life that was, again, it was just in a family chat and a conversation that they were having. I wasn't even part of the conversation, but I could say, this popped up in the family chat. and talk about that. And so thinking about what has happened in your day-to-day life recently that could be related to your offer. And it doesn't have to be a text message conversation. It could be a scenario where maybe your toddler did something or said something, or you were out shopping at the store and you couldn't find something at the grocery store and you could relate that somehow into one of your offer. Like, it's going to take a little bit of thought there. And the thing with this type of, I guess, strategy to selling with what's happening in your day-to-day life, it's a skill that you have to hone in on. You're going to have to pay attention to, and the more that you do it, the more that you'll realize, like, these little scenarios, even looking back on the prior day or even the prior week, how you can pull those scenarios into a way that you can sell your offer. And it's going to feel really seamless because you're talking about something that's happening in your day-to-day life, and that's personal, and then you're going to tie it into your offer through selling. All right, number 5 here. What is the method, framework, or blueprint that you teach in your offer that provides results? The issue that usually arises here with this specific idea of sharing the framework or method or blueprint is that you don't have a framework, method, or blueprint to teach. And inside of your offer, you don't have one, or you maybe even haven't named it yet. Maybe you have a unique framework or method, but you haven't put a name to it. It's going to make it really hard for you to share why your offer is unique if you don't have a unique method, framework, or blueprint and you haven't named it. Because if you just say, oh, I have this method, it's like, okay, cool, you have a method. But if you're like, I have the created method, which talks about XYZ, this is why I created it. Here's how it's strategically designed to help you get results in less time, and the time frame that it does take you to go through the method and implement it and see results in XYZ. You can talk about all those different things when you have a name to your method, your framework, or your blueprint. And all those are just different words that mean the same thing. Like method, framework, blueprint, same thing, right? It's just it's a step-by-step series that you have created specifically for your offer, and it's designed to take your customer, or I guess in this case your student, because they're inside your offer now, from where they're currently at to where they want to go. And it's unique to you because it's not just the same steps that everyone's teaching out there in the world that anyone could Google. It's a framework that you have created that is specific to the way that you teach and specific to the transformation that you are going to help your students get to. So if you don't have one of those yet inside of your offer, that's the first place that you need to get started. And then if you do have one, but you haven't named it, that's the next step for you. And then if you do have one and you have named it and you haven't talked about it on your Instagram stories, please do, because that is a huge, huge, huge way that you are going to be able to separate your offer from other people's offers on the market and showcase why it is unique, because your methodology, your framework, your blueprint is unique. All right, number 6 idea here for selling on stories is, what is a mistake? Whew, wow. Words are sometimes really hard. What is a mistake that you made or a challenge that you've navigated that ultimately led you to a win? And that win could be big or it could be small. And you really want to get personal here so that your audience can connect with you. Everything that you've been through, whether that's big or whether that's small, and whether it's specific to your niche or not, it has led you to where you are today. So talk about just one aspect of what you have been through that has helped you to get to where you are. And even better, if it's something that's a little bit more timely in terms of like it's happened within the last week or within the last few months, because if you're talking about something a long, long time ago, it's great to still talk about that, especially if it has been super, super impactful. But something that's a little bit more updated is going to feel a little bit more relevant to people, and it's going to be easier for you to bring up, right? If you're like, oh, this happened 3 years ago, and people are going to be like, okay, why are we talking about this here? Now, if it happened 3 years ago and it was a huge transformational moment, great, people are going to understand that. But if it's a small little thing, people are going to wait, why are we talking about this? So I think that trying to focus on something that's a little bit more timely in the sense of it's happened within the last few weeks, within the last few months, and then talking about why it matters and the thing that you learned from it. And the nice thing here too is it doesn't have to be specific to the topic of your offer, but you want to tie it back in. So if it isn't specific to the topic of your offer, maybe it's something that happened in your personal life and it was a really big lesson that you learned, and you have then taken what you have learned from that experience, the mistake or the challenge or whatever it is, and implemented that into your offer in some sort of way. Or you can tie it into the journey that maybe your customer student is going to go through inside of your offer. So tying it back into your offer if it isn't niche or I guess topic specific to the topic of your offer. Now, number 7 is, what do you do versus what do you not do when it comes to what you teach inside of your offer? I actually did a story and I sold IG University last week that tied into this exact idea here. And I talked about how I don't teach you how to go viral, because going viral that's not a business strategy. What I teach you inside of Instagram when it comes to Instagram growth is growth rooted in your business goals. What I teach is timeless. So you're not having to keep up with the algorithm, because let's be real, no one can keep up with the algorithm, even when it's their full-time job too, like it is mine. And so that was something where I talked about, what do I not teach versus what I do teach inside of IG University. And that's a great way to really help people to understand almost understanding the method, framework, and blueprint that you teach without necessarily specifically talking about the method, framework, or blueprint. So that's a really great way to draw people in and show them like, hey, you're not going to learn this inside, but you are going to learn this inside. And if this is your vibe, then join my offer. Number 8 idea, this isn't just blank, it's the beginning of blank. So thinking about how you could fill in that blank. Let me repeat that. This isn't just blank, it's the beginning of blank. So think about an aspect of your offer that people are really hyper focused on, and then bring that to light, but then share with them what the offer is really about. Now, let me give you an example here just to make this really solidified in your brain. An example would be, this isn't just a membership, it's the beginning of spending 50% less time on Instagram while 2xing your results so you can build a life-giving business and not have Instagram be your whole personality. And then you can build off of that, or you could even just leave it at that, right? And so the reason why I brought that up as an example is because a lot of times people are like, oh, IG University is a membership. They're hyper focused on the fact that it's a membership, and it doesn't have to be the type of offer that you bring to light there. It could be even the fact that maybe people inside of your offer are really focused on, I don't know, like the live coaching calls or something. Like this isn't just about the live coaching calls. It's the beginning of ... and you can carry on with that. Because IG University is a membership, people often do get hyper focused on, it's a membership, I have to have these recurring payments. I'm like, well, let's focus on the actual transformation. So you're taking them from what they're hyper focused on, which is something that's not really that important most of the time that they're hyper focused on, to bringing them into what is the transformation, so that they're focused on what the transformation is versus on these little details that don't really matter. Now, number 9 idea is to talk about what people are doing that is in their head, that is moving them towards their goals. How do I explain this better? In their head, what they're doing is moving them towards their goals, but in reality, it's just them running through the motions and checking off boxes. So what is that thing that they are doing, the action that they're taking, the motions that they're going through, that in their head, they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing the thing. But in reality, it's them just running through the motions and just checking off boxes just to check off boxes, and it's not moving them towards their goals. An example that I've talked about before on my Instagram stories is how people are showing up on their Instagram stories every single day and they're posting content, but they're just posting just to post. They have zero strategy on how to show up. Even though they're doing the action, it's not actually moving them anywhere. So it's just a waste of time. They're just showing up on stories to check a box and be like, oh, on my to-do list, I have show up on stories. So I'm going to show up on stories. I'm going to throw something up there. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't even know what I said yesterday. I'm just going to throw it up there, and then I'm going to check it off my to-do list, right? And then what I have talked about on my Instagram stories after I talk about that, where I'm like, hey, you're just running through the motions. Then I talk about how I teach a story strategy inside of IG University that will actually take them less time than what they're already spending on stories and get them way more results in terms of nurturing, in terms of leads, in terms of sales. And then also on top of that, if that's not good enough for you, I'm also going to help you to, at a minimum, 2x your story views, right? So they're going to be like, oh, wait, I can have a story strategy that actually takes me less time and I can see all these results and 2x my story views. Sign me up for that, right? Now, the last idea here for you is number 10. You're going to take something that you have heard on TV or through other people's content recently that you disagree with. You disagree with whatever it is that you saw, and it was immediately like red flag. And you're going to talk about why. And I know that you've seen this type of content, whether it's content or whether it's a scenario. It could even be something that happened in public where like you're watching someone else and a conversation that they're having or the way that they're handling a situation. Or again, it could be something that happened on TV. It could be reality TV. It could be a movie that you're watching where you're like, oh, that's a red flag. Like that could be a learning experience. That could be a way for me to teach people what the actual correct way to do it is, right? And I'll give you two different examples here. The first is, let's just say that you are a relationship therapist and you are watching Love is Blind. And I'm saying that because that's what my husband and I are watching right now in terms of reality TV shows. And it could be any type of love show, though. And again, this is just the example if you're a relationship therapist. You could take really any scenario from that show and talk about how something that happened was a red flag and why, and then pull out lessons from that, right? It's like, hey, here is the red flag, but here's what we can learn from that. So you want it to be a learning opportunity, not just like pointing fingers at someone. And another example is, let's just say that you teach people how to naturally dye their clothing with flowers or other plants, and you see something on TikTok talking about how natural dyes don't last. Like if you dye your clothing with natural dyes, they don't last very long if you're washing it in the washer, and it's a waste of time. You obviously disagree with that, so you talk about how what you heard or whatever it is that you saw, and you're going to talk about why that's a red flag, how it's not true. Then you're going to lead into your offer where you teach about natural dyes, and you're going to showcase also how long natural dyes last when you use it on clothing. So that's more of like, you're going to have to be aware of other people's content as well as like the situations that are happening around you. But I promise you that if you think back on, again, if you're watching TV or maybe it's scenarios that happen in public or other pieces of content that you've seen, what are those things where you're like, ooh, I don't agree with that, right? Talk about those things in a kind way. We're not here to point fingers and be like, this person is wrong. It's like, I don't agree with this. This is why. And here's actually a better way to go about doing things, in my opinion, right? All right, that is it for story ideas for this episode, but I want to be really, really real with you, like I always am, for just a second here. 10 ideas is going to get you a whole whopping 10 days of selling, which is great. It's great to get started. But what you really need is an easy plug and play system that makes selling your unique offer easy, like 5 minutes a day easy, which is what Plug and Get Paid does for you. So do yourself a favor and go ahead, check out the show notes, grab that link in the show notes and check out for Plug and Get Paid. Get your hands on that offer. It is life-changing. I use it every single day to sell my offers. There are over 450 people who are using it to sell their offers too. It is truly, and it's such an amazing offer. It's going to help you to sell in just 5 minutes or less a day. That's it. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next episode.